Hello, friends. Your buddy Stub here at Passyunk Avenue in Battersea, London. Welcome to the One Bourbon, One Chard, One Beer podcast. Little Tweener. Friday, June 12th, 2026. As always, friends, let me remind you that the One Bourbon, One Chard, One Beer podcast may contain foul language or explicit content, so listener and viewer discretion is advised. Hey, if you're at work, put on your headphones. If you have a child in the car, listen to this shit later. And if you're any of our mothers, remind your friends over coffee that you raised us way fucking better. Please also let me remind you that you can watch the One Bourbon, One Chard, One Beer podcast on the Cork Heavy YouTube channel under the One Bourbon, One Chard, One Beer podcast playlist, so go ahead and do that. And please also follow my best good mate and co-founder of the One Bourbon, One Chard, One Beer podcast, Kern, at Forgotten Grapes or at Paso Seco. And you can follow me at Cork Heavy to keep up with my ever-expanding list of shenanigans. So friends, let's go ahead and get on to the show today, shall we? So, look, I know it's been a bit since the last episode, and I'm not going to bang on too much about why, and it's nothing bad, but I've had a bit of travel, a good bit of event hosting, and have also been working on a couple of other projects that hopefully I'll be able to update you on in the coming months. So, what have I been doing? Briefly, let me tell you. Well, in early May, the Rib and I actually took a long weekend away with some mates to visit Normandy. It was a great trip, very moving and very fun with our good mates. Now, upon return, I headed to the Bar Convent London, the biggest conference or show for the drinks business in the UK, where I met up with some colleagues I hadn't seen in a while, made some new mates across the drinks industry here in London, and generally had a great fucking time. Now, later that weekend, I attended the FA Cup final at Wembley, where, despite putting on a valiant effort, Chelsea lost to Man City 1-0. Hey, there's always next year for the Blues, I suppose, right? Now, friends, that following week, I found myself at the London Wine Fair, which was actually my first time attending this particular event. And while there were some featured beer and spirit stalls, it was great to walk around a wine-focused event, which is something I actually haven't done in quite a while. It was also great to meet a few old friends from the States who were visiting and to taste some new vintages and new wines from Virginia. So that was a good time. Now, later that weekend, the Rib and I were actually able to spend a couple of days with some visiting mates from the States, which included a visit here for music and karaoke and a good day out in Windsor and Eton, followed by an amazing dinner here back in town. Now, the following day, we hopped on a flight for a cheeky visit to the States where we were able to catch a great concert, Robert Earl Keen, which I'll talk about in future episodes, meet up with some mates from back in the day, and visit some family and friends. It was a great visit and great to be back in the States for a bit. But upon returning home to London, I jumped right back into work and began prepping for, well, now this coming next week. And what is next week, you might ask? Well, friends, it's the Royal Ascot. Now, for those who don't know, the Royal Ascot is the premier horse race meet here in the UK. The Rib and I will be attending every day of the meet from Tuesday through Saturday, as is now our tradition. So why all the prep, friends? Well, it's 5 days of fancy dress, a week away for pomp and circumstance, meeting up with mates, welcoming a few mates who are new to Royal Ascot, tucking in for some quality people watching, and of course, the best horse racing meet of the year. So with that, be sure to check out the Cork Heavy socials to keep up with my week at Ascot. Other than that, friends, all I have to talk about is the World Cup, which began yesterday. So the next several weeks will be full of matches from the biggest sports competition in the world. If you don't believe that, check the viewership, friends. Now, I've personally put wagers on the U.S. to win at 66-1 and on England to win at 6-1. And I figure, hell, if the U.S. can't win an historic first World Cup, at least we can bring it home to the U.K. All right, mates, that's really all I have for today. I wanted to just check in very quickly as I'm off to watch my first World Cup match, the U.S. first World Cup match, that is, against Paraguay, which begins at 2 a.m. local time here. So I'll be enjoying the vibe at Passyunk Avenue in Waterloo and doing a bit of filming and interviewing with other ardent football supporters. And I'll tell you more about that project, I don't know, next time I do an episode. So with that, friends, I'd like to give a shout out to my colleagues and mates here at Passyunk Avenue. Remind you to give a listen to our Young Life podcast. We're actually taking a bit of a hiatus until NFL season begins. So be sure to give it a listen on your favorite podcasting app or be a peeper and catch up on the Young Life YouTube channel. That's Young Life. I'll also ask you to please follow my best good mate and One Bourbon, One Chard, or One Beer podcast co-creator Kern on the socials at Forgotten Grapes or at Paso Seco to learn more about the Forgotten Grapes Wine Club and or Paso Seco, the only sparkling wine made exclusively from Paso Robles grapes. And friends, as always, don't forget to follow your old buddy Stub here on the socials at Cork Envy, especially this coming week where I'll be sending some photos and maybe doing some cheeky videos from the Royal Ascot. Now, friends, I'll be back in a couple of weeks actually with a report on the Royal Ascot in total, and my take on some new music that I've been queuing up here, and some drink pairings, of course, and perhaps a bit of some special content. Again, friends, as always, thanks for listening and supporting the show. Kurt and I really do appreciate it. Until next time, remember to be nice, be safe, and be happy. Cheers, mates.